Happy Sunday, everyone. As you can see, I'm outside enjoying this beautiful autumn Sunday. And so I'm going to try to do more videos outside when it feels a lot better. And it feels a lot better when I'm outside doing videos or speaking because the weather is a lot better. And then two, I get to let my puppies run around and have a good time while I'm doing this. So I'm productive in two ways, right? Anyway, today I want to talk about emotional and mental abuse of children. I don't know if many of you all have heard of parental alienation. Parental alienation is when one parent tries to refuses to allow the children to see the other parent, and or possibly may talk badly about the other parent to the children, so as to make the children not like that other parent, alienating the parents from their children. Or there's also a such thing as grandparents alienation, which is the same thing, but it's on the grandparent side, because the grandparents and the custodial parents or the guardians may not be, seeing eye to eye or having disagreements. The custodial parent or guardians will alienate the children from their grandparents. And this is not about the grandparents who are toxic. This is about just grandparents and parents who aren't getting along, but the grandparents have always been loving and kind to their grandchildren, and also in most respects to their children. So grandparent alienation and parental alienation are forms of emotional and mental abuse. They really are, because the child is longing for that parents or grandparents, but the custodial parents or guardian are using the children as leverage, as a form of punishment against the grandparents or the parents. I know myself what this is like. I've experienced it before several different times, and I'm going through it. As a matter of fact, right now, I'm being alienated from two of my grandchildren because of the parents and I not getting along, the custodial parents. And what that does is turns the child into an object, a thing to be used as a tool to get back at the parent or grandparent. And what the parent or the custodial guardian is doing, they do not realize you're also hurting the child. My grandson calls me crying, "When am I going to see you, BB? Why can't I come see you, BB?" And I haven't seen them in 2 months. My granddaughter even requested from me last week, "BB, can you send me your address?" And I said, "Why?" And she said, "So I can see your house." They're crying constantly, but the parent is so caught up in their own negativity until they do not pay attention to you're actually in effect hurting your child. You're causing your child emotional distress and mental distress. And trust me, the child is aware of what you are doing, And what you're also doing is teaching the child for in the future when they have children to do it to you. Yes, you're teaching your children that, hey, it's okay to mistreat your grandparents. The children don't really need grandparents. They need these parents more than they need grandparents, which is not true, which is really not true, because all of it is about self, how you're feeling, how you feel that what is going on between you and a grandparent is so much so to where the only weapon, and listen to what I said, because weapons are objects, correct? The only weapon you have to get back at the grandparents or the parent is to take the children out of their life. So then the child loses their humanity, their humanness in this disagreement. Because they're no longer a person, but a thing. Yeah. Like when we were children, you got weapons with belts, right? Or a switch. Now, in effect, the child becomes that belt or that switch to whip that parent or that grandparent, to try to make them submit And in effect, that is a really bad mindset. And it speaks of control. Yeah. And anyone who's doing that against the other parent or grandparents, they really have some real mental health issues within themselves that they need to seek help for. Because children are not objects. It's like when we say as women, I don't want to be sexualized. Well, I'm going to say this, a child doesn't want to be toolized. They don't want to be used as a tool for your punishments. To try to whip their parents or grandparents in submitting to your will. That's not how it works. Yeah, you and the parents or grandparents can be going through something, a disagreement, but has that grandparent or that parent mistreated the child? Because it's not about you at that point. You and that parent or grandparents don't have to interact with each other. But why is the child involved in this? How do you justify keeping children away from their other parents or their grandparent because you're mad at them or because you all aren't getting along? Now remember what I said, this is not about toxic, abusive parents who have been abusing their spouses, children, and it's filtered over into you wanting to protect your children from such a person. That's a different story, and you have a right to do that because that in effect is called a boundary. But you all you parents and guardians who are keeping your children from and denying them access to people who love, truly and genuinely love and care about them and have done no harm to them. Because me disagreeing with the parents of my grandchildren is not harmful to my grandchildren because it's not brought to them. The parent or the guardian brings it to them by denying them access to me. And yeah, you all may say, April, this sounds a little selfish. There's nothing selfish about this. You're emotionally and mentally abusing your children. And you're teaching your children that in the future, when they have children, it's okay for them to do the same thing to you. Think about that. When your children have children, you've already taught them, oh, it's okay for me for your children to deny you access to your grandchildren. So will you keep that same energy when you're a grandparent that you're doing to the other parents or the grandparents? What if the other parent gains custody of the children and they start doing to you what you did to them? How will you feel? Yeah. It ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun. Now the hunter becomes the prey. See, those roles can reverse swiftly. So think about that. You are in effect emotionally and mentally abusing your children, which is causing them to have mental health issues. Yeah. And remember, children are very aware of what's going on. They overhear conversations that you think they do not hear. They're very much aware of what is happening. So, once again, I hope you all understand where I'm coming from, and let's raise children who do not have to recover from their childhood. Love y'all. Mwah.